Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. We're talking with expats and thought leaders about moving abroad, remote work, visas, and all the fun and practical knowledge that you need to know to follow in their footsteps. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. My guest today is my new friend Ellie, who is the head of Greek immigration at Lexidy Law in Athens, Greece, and an expat herself, originally from Cyprus, who made her way to Greece many years ago. And now she specializes in helping digital nomads and expats make their way to Greece, following in her footsteps. And she's a true pro in helping that demographic, which many people that listen to About Abroad fall into. I was absolutely blown away by this episode because I have been spending the last few months in Greece and have really fallen in love with this country. There's so much to like: the people, the history, the food, culture, weather, beaches, you name it, it's got it all. And I knew that there was a Greek digital nomad visa, but I very rarely hear anything about it. Come to find out via this conversation, this may be the best digital nomad visa out there. The way you apply for it is super simple. The benefits that it offers, the ability to renew, how long you can stay, the tax advantages, everything. They've done it completely right, in my opinion. And so we get into all of that today, and I think it was very informative, but also a lot of fun to just spend some time talking about what a great place this country is and how much they have to offer. So I think you all will enjoy it. I certainly did. Please keep in mind that this is all for entertainment purposes only, and you should definitely talk with the team at Lexidy about your specific situation when that time arises. But for now, enjoy this episode, and please help me in welcoming Ellie to About Abroad. So you're not even actually from Greece, is that correct?
Yes, so I'm from Cyprus. It's a small island. We have a lot of similarities actually to Greece. We have the same language, same religion. We are very close as countries. So I always had a deep connection with Greece, and I always loved Greece. I used to visit Greece every summer with my family. So it was one of my dreams actually to relocate to Greece. So I did 5 years ago, and I'm here now. I'm really, really happy. It's an amazing country. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is would you say that's a normal thing, like to move from Cyprus to Greece? Is there like being that you have the same language and religion, the things that you mentioned, it's a fairly normal thing?
Yeah, there are actually a lot of Cypriots living in Greece. There are a lot of Cypriots who come to study in Greece, and many of them stay eventually to work here. But even at a later stage, like I did, a lot of them, yeah, because indeed, the fact that we have the same language and the same religion and more or less, the same history, we are very connected as countries. It makes it easy for someone to relocate, of course. But it's also, it's a bigger country. There are more opportunities, more places to visit, your life. I mean, when you're in your 20s, 30s, you want to do more things and you want to move to a bigger city, let's say. So, yeah, a lot of people move from Cyprus to Greece because of that as well.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, when I legitimately didn't know that right until we were hitting record. So that's super fascinating. Because your name, like the way your name is spelled, first name and last name, just is like prototypical Greek to me.
Yeah,
so I just assumed,
the same. Yeah. We have a lot of similarities. I mean, people in Cyprus consider themselves Greek Cypriots, to be honest. So because historically the first people who visited and lived in Cyprus were Greek. So yeah, there is a deep connection. And I always wanted to, I mean, for me, Greece is one of the most beautiful countries. I know it's not perfect, but it has so many beautiful places to visit, even in the winter. A lot of people think that Greece is just for the summer. You know, a lot of people consider the islands. Okay, I'm going for summer in the, I don't know, Mykonos, Santorini, and you know, this is the basic information they have, and of course, this is what it's most commonly, you know, advertised. But Greece has amazing places even for vacations during autumn and winter. I don't know if you had the chance to visit any other places like during winter or autumn, but the mainland is also beautiful.
Yeah, I got to travel some through correct me if I'm wrong here. Like I actually realized I might be saying this incorrectly. When I say I traveled through the Peloponnese, is that like
Yes, the Peloponnesos. Yes, the Peloponnese.
Peloponnesos? Okay. And is that considered just that like southern section of Greece, or is that like the mainland of Greece in general?
It's in the mainland of Greece. Yes, it's I think 2 hour drive from Athens. It's not that far, and it's actually now that you mention it, I think it's actually the second most popular place for digital nomads. Based on the facts of of the digital nomads that we have interaction with, and with the digital nomads that we assisted, the first place that they are interested in is Crete, where you are now. Lucky you. Yes, and the second one is usually the Peloponnese, because many digital nomads, they are afraid to stay long periods in an island, because, as I mentioned previously, they consider islands just for summer, and obviously they want something more like in the long term. They're looking for schools, they're looking for to be in an island where they have all the facilities and all the authorities there, anything they need, a hospital or whatever. So Crete, of course, is the biggest island. It has everything, and it has connection with the whole of Greece, to airports, so there's nothing to be afraid of. They will not be isolated, let's say. But other islands are not that well linked to the rest of Greece. So the second most popular place that I have noticed is Peloponnesos, because it's a quiet place. It's not like Athens, because most of them are looking for something quiet, relaxing. So Peloponnesos has this, but at the same time, it's very close to Athens as well.
Yeah, you've got a nice quick access to Athens and everything that Athens offers if needed, like international travel, for example, but you can be like outside the chaos of the city.
Yes, you have the beach, you have the nature. I don't know if you heard about Kalamata. They have the best olive and the olives and everything. Yeah, so, and it is a beautiful place as well. I mean, as I mentioned, Greece is a very beautiful place. It has a lot of places to visit, and it's worth for, if you're a digital nomad, since this is the whole purpose of traveling around, there is no need to be stuck in one place. You can, try and move around and explore the whole of Greece.
Yeah, it's much more diverse than people think. I mean, I think you nailed it when you said, people tend to think of Greece as I think they think of the islands, they think of Santorini, they think of, as you said, Mykonos. I mean, it seems like you just picture being on a catamaran out sailing around those islands, and like, that sounds amazing. But there really are beautiful mountains, tons of like the nature up in the mainland in particular is gorgeous. Here on Crete, for example, there's snow-capped mountains that you can see, like you can be swimming in the sea, looking up at these massive snow-capped mountains. It's 3 hours from Hania, where I am, over to Heraklion. Like that's pretty far, it's a big piece of land and there's a lot here, and then when you talk about the mainland and the connections to some of the other parts of the world that you can get to from here, I think that's actually really interesting, because it's really funny. So when I was leaving Germany to come here, someone said to me something along the lines of like, oh, but you're going to be so far from everything, meaning like everything in mainland Europe, like where they are, they're used to crossing a border in 30 minutes and being in Switzerland or France, or a couple hours they're in Italy. And I thought that was interesting at the time. But then what was really interesting was I got here and someone said, yeah, what I love about here is that you're actually like right in the middle of everything. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, expand on that. And they were like, well, look, I mean, from here, you can hop off to Africa, you can hop off to Turkey, you can hop back into mainland Europe.
The connection between Middle East and Europe.
Yeah. It's like, it's, I mean, really like, and I'm sitting here on this island in the middle of the sea. Like when you look at a map, you're like, wow, you actually, yeah, you really are right in the middle of everything. So that was a nice change of perspective.
Yeah, it's how you look at things, and I mean, I believe that, okay, since we're talking about digital nomads right now, this is a residence permit, which is, its period is for 2 years, the initial period, let's say. So for me, these people have 2 years to actually, explore everything, take advantage of this. And it's definitely worth it for me. Like, of course, I understand that summer means, for most of the people, means islands. And yes, they should definitely visit the islands. And if they have the opportunity to also rent a yacht or whatever and go sailing, that's an amazing experience. I wish at some point I will be able to do it as well. But I think that, yeah, they should definitely also visit mainland and not be afraid to do so during, winter time, because as you mentioned, the Peloponnesos, I don't know if you had the chance when you were there, but there is these mountains called Meteora, which is actually part of the UNESCO, because it's an amazing, we have these monasteries built on rocks. I don't know how many feet high. So there are a lot of amazing places someone can visit and a lot of experiences.
Is there anywhere in like is there another town or city or something that you tend to like kind of recommend to people in that area? Like because I can like rattle off, of course, Athens and then a handful of islands. Is there another, like I think Thessaloniki is like really coming up and coming internationally?
Yes, Thessaloniki is beautiful.
Yeah, people really seem to like very. I was living in Valencia, Spain for 5 years, and I feel like there's a very similar tie there between those two. It's like that second or third tier city that people are really excited about living in because they don't have to live in the metropolis necessarily anymore. They can take their remote work and go live in maybe a smaller city that still has lots of activities, lots of culture, but the cost of living's better.
It's more relaxed. It's a lot more relaxed. Yeah, you have the beach there in front of you. Yeah. Thessaloniki is also beautiful, and 1 hour away from Thessaloniki, it's Chalkidiki, which has the best. I mean, it's considered to have the best beaches in Greece.
Wow, what's that called?
Chalkidiki.
Okay. All right. Yes. I won't try to pronounce it and embarrass myself, but I've got that noted.
Yes, it's very famous actually. It has amazing beaches, but also I don't know if you heard before, Pilio, Volos. These places are also very beautiful. So Pilio, it's actually very interesting because it's a complex of traditional villages which are mostly visited during winter time, but they are beautiful villages because they are traditionally built, with the stone and everything. So it's worth someone going there, spending a few days, and it's you can go snowboarding there or everything. But it also in the summer, it combines the mountain with the sea, because like 20 minutes you can reach a beautiful beach, and yeah. It's also a very beautiful area, Pilio. I only visited it during Christmas time. I spent one Christmas there, and it was beautiful. But I'm looking forward to go there during summertime because they have amazing beaches as well. So when I visited during Christmas, imagine that my room, which was in a traditional, house, let's say, everything was covered with snow, but from my window I could see the beach. So I cannot explain this image. Yeah, it was amazing.
That's not normal. Yeah, that's like you don't get that beautiful in most parts of the world. Beautiful. Wow, that's That's incredible. I think we could, I could probably talk about the natural beauty here in this country for forever because it really does call to me and it has such diversity. But you know what, the part that has jumped out to me more than anything after spending a few months here, and for a little bit of context, like I had been in Greece a handful of times before, but for like a week or 2 weeks, like very, very like vacation-y, not like really spending time here. And so I've been here now for 3 months as the time of this conversation. And I did not know that how kind people were.
Oh yeah,
Like the
Greek
Greek,
hospitality.
yes, it is like, I don't know that that's as like well known around the world as like it is here. Like I've had people here be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, exactly as you just said." Like, yeah, Greek hospitality. But I don't know that people outside of like in other corners of the world know how good it is. Like my wife and I have said many times, like we've spent a lot of time in a lot of different countries, and I'm pretty sure we've never been treated as nicely as we have here. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is true. It's one of the values, let's say, of Greece and of Greek people, to be honest. Um, this also, the level, let's say, of hospitality also changes, increases or decreases depending on where you are, to be honest. Okay, so as you can understand and you can imagine, for example, when someone is in Athens, okay, of course, we are not animals. We are, we are hospitable and everything. They are kind and everything, but it's not the same, because the rhythm is different, the tensions and everything, they are different when you are in the city center. Everyone is running, everyone, compared to Crete, for example. The truth is that this is a general value of Greek people. However, you experience it in higher levels when you are in outside of big cities. Like the hospitality in Crete, I think it's beyond, like it's crazy. Like, no, I'm not joking. The first time I visited Crete, it was before I had, because now I have relatives there because of my husband is from Crete. But before, before I got married to a Crete guy, and I was just visiting as holidays, they like eat, drink, eat, drink. They pressure you, you have to eat, you have to drink. Do you need to sleep? Do you need anything you need? They're like this. They will open the door of their house and, you can stay. It's extreme levels of hospitality. I don't know if anyone else in the world could open their house so open, so welcoming and offer you these things. This is true. And as I said, you experience this mostly in smaller cities and in the villages.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's you nailed it. Like your examples there were perfect. I even had like actually my introduction to Greece on this trip. We drove from so we drove through Croatia and Montenegro and Albania, and so crossing into Greece at the like border stop, I had the most like amazing introduction to Greece. Those situations are sometimes a bit tense. You're usually working with like a customs agent who's inspecting your car, and it's not like a friendly situation often. However, this time, like the Greek guy, the Greek immigration officer, looks at I'm driving a camper van, and he's like, "Oh, are you going camping near the lake nearby?" And there's like 1 hour from there was a lake with a campground on it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I am." And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love it." And he took like a solid 5 minutes to talk to me about the area. He said, "Oh, these mountains here, this is kind of like I see you're from America. This is like our Grand Canyon. It's beautiful. I recommend you go 5 kilometers here, turn left. There's a little stopping point." I'm like, this is not normal. And just so friendly and like here in Crete all the time. It's so funny. Like people will, like we've been in like a pharmacy, for example, and like the pharmacist would be like, "Oh, are you here for a holiday?" Or like, "Oh no, we're actually here for a few months. We're oh my gosh, well, here's my phone number. If you need anything, let us know. We'll be, if you have any problems." Or and people give you gifts all the time. Like I'll be in a store buying something, and they'll just like add, like I'll buy, a couple things, a couple like if we were buying shoes, like maybe they'll give you a free pair of socks or something. It's like just the need to go above and beyond. And it's very warm and like welcoming.
Yeah, no, I mean, and they always know a guy who can help you if you have any problems. Like they can always suggest where to eat, where to drink. They always have a cousin or an uncle who can help. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad you have had the same. I was wondering, I was like, is this just my perception? But like you coming from Cyprus, you've seen this as well.
No, this is how they live. They I mean, it's in their nature to help and to, they always I have a guy, you have a guy, this restaurant, my uncle owns it, you should try it. Or this, if you need anything from the pharmacy, my uncle has a pharmacy. They're like this. Everyone wants to help, everyone wants to offer, so they're assisting each other all the time. And it's part of the culture, to be honest. It's part of the culture because this is how everything works around here, If you, for example, if I need, I don't know, a doctor, I will call a friend of mine and ask, do you have any, this is how we communicate with each other. I will not just search on Google, let's say, for a doctor. I will call my friends or people from my office, let's say, and ask them, do you know a good doctor about, because I need blah, blah, blah. Yes, sure, yeah, here's mine. So this is how we interact. This is how we live.
It's very familiar. Yeah. Someone told me that it stems back to like some like old fable that that Zeus would show up at your doorstep disguised as someone like a stranger, and you would need to be like, so you better welcome the stranger in just in case it's Zeus. Yes. And I just loved that. And I was like, yeah, that's so good. I also had another guy, this like, again, like a super friendly interaction. This waiter at a restaurant, got talking to him for a while, and he's like in his 20s probably, and just super kind. Like we're having a great conversation. And, but he told me, he said, actually, because I asked him about this, I was like, do you recognize that you guys are so nice? And he was like, yeah. He's like, it's really kind of like told to it's a deep part of our culture, the hospitality thing. He's like, but sometimes it feels a little heavy, like it feels like a burden, like I have to like live up to this really high standard. He's like, it comes natural because we've been raised this way, but he's like, I do sometimes feel like it's a bit of a burden. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, not all the time you're in a good, you don't have, I mean, in a good mood, let's say. Perhaps this is what he meant. I don't know. It's not all, it's not every day that you are in a good mood or you are willing to, chat with someone. So perhaps, yeah, it's a pressure to be always very, very kind and very, yeah, I can understand this.
Yeah. Yeah, even Greek hospitality has its down days sometimes, but the lows aren't too low. So
no, Greeks are very good at it. They're very kind and welcoming, but you should also know that Greeks have a height. They get upset really easy. So you should be careful. They are Mediterranean people. They are the feelings are strong.
Can get a little fiery, a little spicy sometimes.
Exactly. The feelings, positive and negative, are always strong. There is nothing in the middle.
That's a great way to put it. Well, you alluded to this earlier, and I wanted to make sure we circle back to it because I think this is really, really interesting for our audience. And obviously this is what you specialize in. So we have a lot of people listening that have, as of recently gotten access to remote work and location independence. And obviously Greece is a very attractive country in and of itself, but it became even more attractive to that audience when they introduced the digital nomad visa permit. But what's really interesting about this one, unlike some other countries, like Portugal, for example, that have been very loud and kind of like, desiring and pulling in digital nomads and expats and such for a while. I feel like Greece is somewhat either quieter about this or relatively new. I'm not sure. I'll let you expound upon that. But there's a great opportunity here that I think a lot of people aren't even aware exists, and so I'd love to spend some time on this.
Yeah, of course. So I think I think Greece did not expect to receive so much interest in this residence permit, to be honest. It introduced it 2 years ago. And I think that they didn't even anticipated the interest that they would receive. And it's true that perhaps they didn't promote it as much, this residence permit, because Greece already had some other residence permits, and one of the most popular was, of course, the Golden Visa one. And this was the permit that was mostly, promoted and advertised abroad. But it seems that the digital nomad residence permit is actually becoming a lot more popular than the Golden Visa the last few months.
There's a lot more people with remote work than €500,000 euros.
Crazy. It is honestly crazy. I cannot explain how many applications they have been receiving. They didn't anticipate so much interest. And this is why when this program first started, it was actually really, really fast. The first digital nomad application that I submitted, when this program opened, we actually received the card in 2 months, which was amazing. Now, unfortunately, because of all this demand, people have to wait like 7 to 8 months just to be called for fingerprints. So you can see the difference, how much increase there has been in the applications and in the demand. Yeah.
Okay. So is let's cover some basics with this real quick, because if somebody's listening, they might they might be like, okay, I'm interested, but what do I need? So you said it's a residency permit for 2 years, and it would generally speaking be applicable to someone who has like a remote job. They have an income coming in from somewhere outside of Greece. Is that more or less correct?
Yes. So basically, it's for any third country national who is working for a company or a client, or even has his own company, which is located abroad. So we don't want any connection with Greece. Okay, this residence permit does not allow people to work in Greece. So it's for people who are working for foreign companies, foreign clients. So earning a salary abroad, but living here. And obviously, we need people who are able to work remotely. For example, a doctor will not be able to work remotely, so unfortunately, he will not qualify for this residence permit. But in general, the requirements are not that strict. I mean, it's just for, as I mentioned, working for foreign companies, clients, and earning a specific salary. So the minimum is set at 3,500, and I should note here that this amount refers to net, so it's after all taxes. I'm just mentioning it because there has been some confusion about this, and people are always asking, and I understand that taxes are very high, so the amount changes a lot after the taxation and everything. But yeah, it's 3,500 after all the taxes are paid in the home country, of course.
In the home country, okay.
Yeah. So
there is no expectation that you're paying, while you're on this permit, you're not paying Greek taxes?
No. So again, a very good question, because this is one of the most common questions that we get, taxation. So digital nomads, as I mentioned, they are not allowed to work in Greece. Okay, so they are not allowed to have income in Greece, as you understand. So in that sense, they are not taxable in Greece. They are not liable to pay any taxes. They don't even need to register with the tax authorities here if they don't want to. Of course, in reality and in practice, you do need to register and get a Greek tax number if you want to rent a place, or if you want to get a Greek phone number, if you want to open a bank account. So for all these, transactions, let's say, we do need a Greek tax number, but obtaining one does not necessarily make you a Greek tax resident.
That's a great clarification to make. And I think it's, this, but it's important to point out because for a lot of people coming from a lot of other countries, I think especially outside of Europe, that number, like for me from the US, the equivalent of that is like your social security number, which you wouldn't necessarily need to do a lot of these things. But and it was the same for me in Spain, for example, like they call it the NIE number, the National Identification of Extranjeros. And so you need to have this number in order to get your bank account, get your rental contract, set up, utilities at your apartment, things like that. So it's like the first step it's a major first step that unlocks a lot of other doors.
Exactly.
We'll be right back to the show after a quick break for a note from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by my friends over at Lexidy. I've lived abroad in various countries, and one common denominator I've found is that dealing with foreign bureaucracy is a nightmare. Trying to navigate visa and immigration waters in another language is not something I'd recommend ever trying on your own, even for the most experienced of us. So when I recently had to renew my Spanish visa again, I turned it over to the pros at Lexidy. They've already helped more than 5,000 expats and digital nomads find a home and thrive in countries like Portugal, or in my case, Spain, also Italy, France, and Greece. Some very desirable locations indeed. So whether you're trying to obtain your first visa abroad, purchase a property, or work through international tax issues, Lexidy's team of friendly lawyers is here to simplify your journey. The team is super knowledgeable, bilingual, and thorough, and I seriously cannot recommend their services enough. My experience working with them has been incredible, and I can honestly say I don't know that I would have EU permanent residency if it wasn't for the help of the team at Lexidy. So if you're ready to make your move abroad, then Lexidy is offering an exclusive discount to About Abroad listeners. Grab 10% off your first service with the code AboutAbroad2023 and learn more over at Lexidy.com in the show notes and start your abroad journey today. If you've made it this far into the episode and you're still enjoying yourself, then I would love to ask a quick favor. Open up the app that you're using to listen to this podcast and leave a quick review. You can do this in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and really just about any platform that allows podcast listening now. If you can't find that in the interface of the app, then scroll down in the show notes and find ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, and you should be able to leave it from there. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of the show. It's 3,500 euros net after taxes. Does that double for a couple, or is it?
So for when we have family members joining us for the application, the amount increases, it doesn't double. So for the spouse, it increases by 20%. So I think it's around 700 euros. And for each child, it increases by 15%. So around 500 more. Yeah. So, and of course, when someone is going to apply for this residence permit, these amounts have to be proved through bank statements. Like we need to show that we are actually receiving this money, right?
What other kind of like paperwork do they want to see, very generally speaking? Because I know it's sometimes hard to ask these questions because it can depend so much on the situation, but are there a few other bullet points that are important for people to kind of have in mind?
So in general, as I mentioned, because the two requirements, let's say, is that you work and that you earn this salary. So obviously we need to come and prove this point. So in general, we will need to submit an employment agreement and the bank statements which show the inflow every month. Now, of course, every situation is different because not all people are private employees. Some people are working as freelancers, some people own their own company. So in that case, of course, we examine the specifics of the case and we advise accordingly on the documents. But in general, we need to prove what is this applicant doing? How do they receive their income? Are they working? We need them to be working. And what is their salary? What is their monthly income? So, yeah.
That's great. Okay. That's pretty straightforward. Like, is there any kind of like a medical exam or background check or anything like that?
So for any residence permit in Greece, we need to have medical insurance. So anyone who is going to apply for a residence permit in Greece, for any residence permit, needs to have a medical insurance. And I think this is logical because, the government cannot be burdened, with for every applicant that wants to live in Greece. Our health system is already very underworking. So So there is this requirement that we have a medical insurance for the whole duration of the residence permit.
Okay. And so people normally just get like Nomad insurance or traveler's insurance but they probably need like to prove that they've got a full year's worth or something, correct?
Yes. So there are basic requirements that the medical insurance must cover, and its duration should definitely be as long as the residence permit is. For example, in Digital Nomad, we need 2-year medical insurance. It needs to cover the whole family if we have family members joining. Now, another thing which is a bit confusing for some people is the difference between medical insurance and travel insurance, okay? So the medical insurance is required when someone is applying for a residence permit, which means that he's already in the country, he has entered the country, he's already here, and we are proceeding and applying at the Ministry of Immigration. In this case, we need a medical insurance. When someone is applying at the consulate for a visa, which is the step before, in order to enter the country, in that case, we need a travel insurance, okay? And another big difference between these two is that the travel insurance can be issued from your country of origin, of course. However, the medical insurance, the ministry insists that it's from a Greek company. So it should be a Greek medical insurance.
Okay. So am I inferring correctly then that the process to apply for this visa is actually done once you're in Greece, or are people applying for it from abroad and then coming with the visa?
So in general, we have 2 steps, okay? However, again, this depends on the nationality of each applicant. For example, a US citizen is able to enter the country just by using their passport. They have the Schengen days, okay? So whenever we have, for example, an Australian citizen, a British citizen, a US citizen who have the passport which allows them to enter into Schengen for 90 days, in those cases, we don't necessarily need to go through the consulate first. So they can, I guess you did the same. You just enter Greece using your passport without a visa, right?
In my case, I already have European permanent residency because I've been living in Spain for more than 5 years, and so I've gone through that process thanks to Lexidy. Actually, I was able to get that. So
wow.
yeah. So like I'm here with European permanent residency, but yeah, otherwise I would have just come with my US passport.
So in general, people from the US, Australia, the UK, they are able to visit Greece without any visa, without the requirement of the visa. So in that case, they don't need to go through the consul. If they do, we can do it. We can do the first step, which is actually applying at the consulate of the place of origin, requesting a visa, an entry visa, which is valid for 1 year. And then the applicant uses this visa to enter Greece, of course. And within this period of 12 months, they will proceed and apply for the residence permit at the Ministry of Immigration. But as I said, people who have Schengen days available, they can skip this step. And they can just visit Greece at any time they want. And once they are here, once they enter Greece, we can proceed with the permit. Other people, unfortunately, are not so lucky. They don't have Schengen. Their passport does not give them Schengen days. So they will need to definitely go through step 1, which is applying at the consulate for a visa first.
Got it. Okay. It's kind of interesting. Actually, that's a huge perk for the people that have the access with their passport to Schengen, because like for me going through Spain, I pretty much went through the same process, but I still had to do everything in the US at the consulate there, which worked out fine for me. Like there was actually some peace of mind because I knew that I already had the visa, so I didn't move my life over here and then start applying. It was like, okay, I know I have it. So that was good. But I know a lot of people who have had really bad, like kind of horror stories because they've had to go to their consulate, which is really far. Like for some people, 4 hours flight or 20 hours drive away. And then they've gotten there and the consulate appointment didn't go well and they had to come back another time. They had to make that trip again. So knowing that you can come to Greece and apply there is quite nice. Do you ever find that people, I mean, I'm sure it happens, but generally speaking, if people come and they do all the right things, then they're not like at risk of having moved their life to Greece and then getting denied the visa?
Okay, so unfortunately, what you said is correct. The consulates cannot be, they're very unpredictable, okay? It's, in my experience, if you can avoid it, you should definitely avoid it. I'm not speaking about all the consulates, of course, because in some consulates, the employees are more friendly and more helpful, but there are some consulates which, they don't care to assist and they are very strict, and it's actually sometimes more difficult to get a visa from the consulate than it is to get the permit here in the Ministry of Immigration. So as you mentioned, they have the discretion to reject any application they want, of course. And it's sometimes difficult to get an appointment with the consulate. It needs a lot of patience. It doesn't apply to all the consulates, but I'm just mentioning it for someone to be aware of. Now, if we have all the documents, the possibility of rejecting the application is very limited, but of course, we can never guarantee the outcome because, as I mentioned, they have the discretion, to ask for more documents and to ask for clarifications.
Is there any, like if I came, let's say I was like a normal American coming to Greece and I'm going to go for this permit. So I land in Athens and I come talk to you and we prepare all the documents, we file them. Like in theory, I only have 90 days to do all of these things, which sounds like a lot actually. Like, you got to get the tax ID number. You got to, wait on the bureaucracy to flow. Like you have these things to do. Is the 90 days sufficient, you think, or is there any kind of extension that they grant you while you're going through this process?
Okay, so 90 days, I think it's more than enough because we always advise and prepare on the documents before the applicant enters Greece. So we always have the file ready, okay? So we just leave the formalities which need to be done in Greece, which cannot be done outside of Greece. For example, when applying for this residence permit, the applicant needs to submit a declaration that they are not going to work because they're not allowed to work. So the ministry requires them to actually sign a declaration, okay? So a sworn declaration. So, for example, this paper cannot be prepared beforehand, okay? So it's 1, 2, 3 papers that we need to be finalized here, as you said, the tax number and this declaration and some authorizations, let's say. So we always have the file ready. So 90 days is more than enough. We actually are able to finalize the rest of the paperwork in just a week when someone is in Greece, okay? Nevertheless, the good thing is that someone may come and not have 90 days because they already spent their days in other Schengen countries, in the rest of Europe, which is, again, very normal for us. We have people traveling around Europe and then ending their traveling in Greece where they want to apply, okay? In such cases, as I said, we are able to finalize within a week, and the huge benefit of Greek residence permits is that once the application is submitted, the applicant receives as I told you, it takes a while, okay, for the application to be processed and the residence card to be issued. However, once we submit, the ministry provides us with a temporary residence permit. So it doesn't matter if your Schengen days have expired. This temporary residence permit is valid for 12 months, which means that you can, of course, continue and stay in Greece and wait until your residence, the final card is issued.
That is huge. That is a major, major bonus.
So you're not worried about Schengen days and how long it takes for the ministry to examine your file, because you automatically have the every right, since you have applied for a residence permit, to stay in the country.
Wow. And you keep mentioning the ministry. Is that like a physical place in Athens that you go do this, or is a lot of this being done digitally?
So there is of course a physical place where we go and give fingerprints when the time comes. But the initial step of the application, the submission, is now done since November. I think they changed it, if I'm not wrong. It's done electronically. So from November onwards, we are submitting applications electronically. There is a special platform for lawyers who can log in with their credentials, and it's directly linked with the ministry, and we submit the applications. And as you understand, because now everything is done electronically, they are receiving more applications than they can handle. Yeah, because before they could control everything with their appointments. You had to get an appointment to go there, and they could control it. But now you can just log in the platform and submit.
Amazing. Okay, great. So do you see people like I'm here in Crete, for example, like do you see people coming in and doing that app, like coming to Crete and applying for this visa from here, or do most people stick around in Athens for a period of time? What would be like the norm?
Yeah, so actually a lot of our applicants never came to Athens. Like they have entered Greece, of course, because this is a requirement to enter Greece. We need the stamp on the passport. But they choose their place. Usually it's Crete. And we can proceed, through emails and everything. And they can send us the last of the documents that we need, and we can definitely proceed with their submission without them coming to Athens. They will need to come to Athens at a later stage for fingerprints, but for submission, it is not required.
Great. Okay. And I mean, for context for anyone who's wondering, like, how far is that? It's so, Greece is so well connected from all around the islands. There's frequent flights back into Athens. Everything kind of goes through Athens. So it's very cheap and easy to get back there. Like you could make a day trip and back, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with the plane, for example, from Crete, it's 30 minutes with the airplane.
30 minutes, yeah, that's crazy. And ferries are an option as well. I love ferry hopping. My mom jokes that she thinks I'm going on cruises when I take ferries. It's not a cruise; it's a 4-hour ferry, but I enjoy it. You kind of touched on something there that I think is really, really important, because this is one of the reasons why I loved working with Lexidy in Spain. And it sounds like it's the same in your Greek office. Everything can be done electronically, very like technologically advanced, and very much so like a one-stop shop. So like that is super important. Like, for example, you mentioned the medical insurance. Like, foreigners don't know, okay, where do I go to get medical insurance? You guys can point them in the right direction. Like, how do I submit this piece of paper? Where do I go to do the fingerprints? Like, it's just nice to be able to go to one person or one office and get all those answers.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, our goal is to help someone to relocate here, assist them with anything that, someone needs when they are relocated. It's not just applying for a residence permit. It's not when someone is moving to another country. Of course, it's very important to be legally in that country, so you need to apply for the residence permit. But this is not the only thing that you need to worry about. You need to find a property to live. You need to get the tax number. Some people want a bank account. We need to get the medical insurance. A lot of people have kids, so they're asking us about schools. There's a lot of things that someone needs assistance with, and we are always happy to assist with everything. We actually take care of everything, even for medical insurance. We arrange it for them. They don't even need to contact a medical insurance company. So this is our goal. This is our aim, to make relocation as easy and fun as possible.
It's you guys are succeeding. That's why I'm so excited about the partnership with Lexidy, because you guys truly were game changers for me, and I can see if I had come through Greece, then I would have had the same experience. So thank you all for that, and for putting the technology part and being able to do everything mostly virtually can't be understated, because so many immigration offices, law offices are still a bit archaic. And you're talking about digital nomads, right? You're talking about people who are used to working remotely, getting things done virtually. You don't want to have to, there was one other company that I was looking at using in Spain, and I was going to have to go up back and forth to their office in Madrid 5 times over the course of a few months. And I was like, we can do all of this virtually, but that's how they do things. So anyway, shout out to you guys for that. I wanted to ask you another question, kind of related to this, and I don't know if I got good information or bad information, so I'll use this opportunity to ask you. So someone told me that there was connected to this visa and maybe part of a bigger plan to bring Greeks back to Greece, and also attract foreigners to Greece to come here and work and set up businesses and stuff, that basically there was this again, I'm probably going to get some of this wrong, and maybe it's just not true at all. So you'll tell me, but it's basically this pathway to getting long-term, 7-year, I think it's a 7-year plan, where you could be here for 7 years and then convert to permanent residency. And you would get this massive tax break or something if you invested in a business here or something, or bought a home here. Does any of this make sense?
Okay, so what you just mentioned is 2 different things. So, but it's very common to get this confused, because when they were first introduced, we were also confused about it, and we needed to read the law very carefully to clarify everything. So, basically, the only residence permit which leads to citizenship, to Greek citizenship after 7 years, it's the golden visa residence permit. Okay, this is if you invest at least 250,000 in real estate in Greece. Nevertheless, the digital nomad residence permit also could also lead to citizenship, but not after 7 years. This is after 12 years. So it's a different, because the golden visa is a permit which gives you 5 years of residence, whereas the digital nomad is for 2 years. You can tell the difference between these two. So citizenship is also different for each residence permit. Now, citizenship is not that simple, because it's not only a requirement to stay in the country for an amount of years. You should also learn to speak and write Greek. You actually need to pass exams. So I don't know how possible that is, because I definitely understand that Greek is not the easiest language for someone to learn. I know.
That is true. Yes.
Yeah, but you have 12 years. You have 12 years, so you can definitely try if you want.
So you can extend the digital nomad visa, for example. You can continue extending it all the way up to 12 years.
Of course. So this digital nomad residence permit, as we mentioned, it's for 2 years. But if someone continues to wish to stay in Greece and meets the requirements, like they continue to receive the salary, they continue to work for someone abroad, they can definitely apply for renewal.
Wow. Okay. And that whole time they continue to be tax residents of their home country, not tax residents of Greece.
Yes. Now, this is something, to be honest, this is the current situation, okay?
Yeah,
So
I could see that changing.
yeah. I mean, when the last update we had from the ministry is that there is no taxation for digital nomads. However, they did mention that in the near future, because of EU directive, this may change, okay? However, as things are now, as we know them, no taxation is applicable to digital nomads. But we are definitely looking for updates, and we're always, communicating this to our clients if something changes.
Sure. Yeah. So caveat there for anyone listening to this, like, a year from now, like you double check that. But as of the date of interview and publishing, this is the case.
For now, this is the case, but they did mention that, they need to comply with EU regulations and everything. So they did mention that Europe is actually looking to regulate this because, digital nomad is something that is going on around the whole of Europe. It's a residence permit, which has been introduced in many European countries. So I think it will be regulated soon. I don't know how, but definitely once we know, we will inform accordingly. No, I was just gonna mention the last point you mentioned about the tax break. This does not apply to digital nomads. Okay, so indeed, Greece has introduced a program whereby if someone wants to move their tax residency in Greece, they receive a 50% discount for the first 7 years, okay? But this does not apply to digital nomads because digital nomads, first of all, they don't work in Greece and they don't pay taxes in Greece. So this program is specifically designed for people who they will be paying taxes in Greece, but they will get a 50% discount, and they will be working in Greece. So they are actually relocating, they are professionals who are relocating in Greece to work. And Greece tells them, come here to work in Greece. This is like an incentive to attract, highly qualified workers, let's say, and highly income workers. So it's an investment. It's kind of an investment program. It says that come here to Greece to work. Move your citizenship, your tax residency in Greece, and you will get this benefit of 50% discount for the first 7 years.
That's really attractive. I'm assuming that can apply to not just foreign, like non-EU nationals, but people from even within the EU if they wanted to do that.
Yes, it's for anyone who is moving their tax residency, even for Greek people who you mentioned before. Greek people who moved out of Greece, I don't know, some years ago, and obviously they changed their tax residency to the country they have been staying the last years. They can come back, change their residency back to a Greek one, and get this discount.
Wow. I mean, that's a very attractive offer. And honestly, I just don't think a lot of people know about it. Like I live in this world and I've only heard one person bring it up and to me ever. And I just don't see a lot of information out there about it. So I think that's a massive opportunity. Like I know tons of people up in, live in the Netherlands, for example, and they're like, paying 50% of their taxes. And they're like, they could move their tax residency to Greece if they wanted to, cut their taxes in half, live in a more affordable place, warmer climate. There's a lot of things to consider there.
Yeah, it's a very attractive program. Yeah, of course.
This is all so helpful. Do you think we missed anything? Like I feel like we covered quite a bit, and I want to encourage people to keep in mind that like all of this is high level. We're talking to a broad audience here. So like when you need to get into the details, if this is attractive to you, contact Ellie via the link in the show notes, and she'll help you dive deeper. But I mean, generally speaking, do you feel like we covered most of the bases pretty well?
I think so. I mean, as I mentioned, this residence permit is quite straightforward. It only requires from the applicant to be working and receive a specific salary, and this minimum of 3,500. So it's a pretty straightforward residence permit. That's why it's very, very popular. it's there have been a lot of applications from people from the US, Australia, UK. There has been a lot of interest from these countries. Now, the process is quite straightforward, especially for these people who have the Schengen days. To be honest, I don't think there is something else. I mean, of course, as I said, the specifics of each case, if someone needs assistance with schools and everything, it could get more complicated in the sense that they need more information on where and how. But the general requirements are pretty straightforward. And it's a very easy process.
One last question, actually, before we wrap it up. On the golden visa topic, is the 250,000 euros, is that cash? Like you need to be able to have 250,000 euros, or can you use a bank to get a mortgage on a 250,000 euro property?
No, you cannot get a loan. It needs to be paid directly from you. It could be paid through a bank transfer or a check if you have a Greek bank account and you can issue a check. But the whole essence of this residence permit is that the land that you're buying, the property, is free from any charges, liens, mortgages. Got
it. Okay. That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. Greece has made this easier than other countries in a lot of ways. So I wanted to say maybe they've also made this one easier, but that makes perfect sense. So
just to point out something, just because you mentioned it about the golden visa, it will be doubled, the amount, the minimum amount from the new year, but not for the whole of Greece. This is very important. So it's 250,000 now. It will double to 500,000, but for specific areas. So people who want to invest in Athens, Santorini, Mykonos, and Thessaloniki, the price will be 500,000. For the rest of Greece, it will still be 250,000. So it's it's important, distinction to be made.
Yeah. So if you've been saving for that 250K, go ahead and get in now before it jumps up to 500. Well, Ellie, thank you so much for your time today. You shared an incredible amount of valuable information. I think it adds a wonderful element that you're also a foreigner in Greece that's immigrated, and so you've had that experience. And if you've been there and done that, what it's like to move to another country. So that adds a lot, and I really appreciate it, and appreciate you guys over at Lexidy quite a bit. So thank you.
Thank you for your time and this opportunity. Of course, as you mentioned, because I also had this experience, I can understand that it's not always very easy, at least in the beginning when you move to another country. But our goal is to assist you and make it as easy as possible. So I'm really happy we had this discussion, and I hope that it was helpful for everyone.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll be in touch. Efkaristo, and we'll speak soon.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Okay.
Have an amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. For those of you wondering how you can best support the show, I have made it super simple for you. Just go over to the show notes of the episode that you just finished listening to and click on one of the two following links. aboutabroad.com/newsletter to get our monthly newsletter, no spam, guaranteed, or ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, where you can quickly and easily leave a review for the show. It's not just important to me, it also helps more wanderers just like you find us. Finally, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and we will see you again next week. Thanks again. Hasta luego, amigos.